What's up, guys? Welcome to Operation B, the podcast. I am your host, Jamie Thurber, and I am here to take you on a journey of deepening, of expansion, of understanding more about who you are and why you're here and how to operate in an optimal way that allows you to do what you want to do, feel how you want to feel, take care of yourself truly, and support everything that your heart desires. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Operation B podcast. This is Jamie, your host, and thank you so much for being here. So today, I'm going to talk a little bit about something that is uncomfortable. Is that what we do here? Talk about all these uncomfortable things? Yikes. But one of the things is how often people who, whether it's we have chronic illnesses, whether it's that we're overachievers, whether it's that our life is stressful, whether there's a lot of reasons why this may be something that you've adapted over the years, hypervigilancy basically, but is the ignoring of our simple, basic human needs. That's a thing. So remember, we're going to jump right in today. I remember years ago, I'm going to take you on a little journey of evolution here. I remember years ago, I was meeting with my doctor and he was talking about, I was explaining things that I was feeling and things that were going on and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, he hits me with some zingers, I'll tell you what, some zingers that like life-changing moments, where he said to me, what we need to figure out, Jamie, is why your basic human needs like sleeping well and being treated properly and eating good food when you're hungry and drinking water tend to be things that you ignore, and instead you take care of everyone else and do everything else and work really hard and whatever, but you somehow completely ignore your own basic human needs. And I remember being like, what, sir, why would you say that to me? That's terribly mean. And he wasn't wrong, but it was an ugly thing to hear. And so I want you to think about that for a minute if you're listening, of how many times, because don't get me wrong, I know there are plenty of people who put their own needs first, and that's great. And I know that there are a lot of people who don't even think about their own needs at all. And what I know to be true is the majority of the people that I know who don't think about their own needs at all wind up with mental illnesses and chronic illnesses and chronic pain and just not easy things to deal with when you don't think about your own needs at all. Because, you hear all of the like hot topic statements of fill your own cup first, and you can't give from an empty cup, put your own oxygen mask on first. And we all hear that and we know it to be true, but like how many times do people actually break that down into a day-to-day need or into a day-to-day way you're operating within your own head, within your own routines, within your own interactions with business, with family, with friends, with the stranger you meet on the street who think needs something more than you. We don't break down that put your oxygen mask on first statement much deeper than that blanketed phrase. People say you got to take care of yourself first, and then they like almost very quickly move on to the next thing, which I don't love, because it's like, man, you're missing the boat here. There's so much more to be said about that, because like, what does that actually mean in your day-to-day life? Well, I'll tell you, somebody who has dealt with being sick most of her life, it was easier for me to worry about everyone else's needs than it was my own. It was easier for me to worry about my business and like how successful whatever company I was working at the time was than it was my own needs. And now in those moments, like younger Jamie, if you would have asked her that, would she have told you that she wasn't taking care of her own needs? No, she absolutely wouldn't have said that. It's not like I was consciously saying, oh, fuck myself, I'm not doing anything that I need. It was definitely not what was going on. It was just easier. And so the thing that we have to recognize about when patterns are created, or especially when we start to learn things that we need to, or I should say, see things that we need to unlearn, we can't be hard on ourselves about where it came from, because every single pathway that is created in our lives we create because we think it's keeping us safe, right? Like that's just the way it goes. And at the end of the day, we have to realize is that, again, this is not a blame game. Blame games are useless. It's more about the recognition. And then when you start to recognize, wait a minute, what if, so for me, I was ignoring almost every physical cue that my system was giving me to like basically try to feel better. But I never had success with feeling better, so it was easier to ignore it, right? I have a delicious cup of hot cocoa right now, and I'm super happy. So that's what we're just sipping some cocoa and having a chat, friends. So something that I had written down that I wanted to talk to you about, and then I really like realized that it comes back to our basic human needs and just how like mind-boggling it is how often we don't think about those things, was a story. So let me give you a little backstory. So my coach, who has, gosh, I don't even know how to explain what she does and how she helps me, but she's been with me through lots of different versions of my life. And as she's evolved, I've come back and I've evolved, and it's worked out beautifully. But so anyway, she hosts these like goddess retreats and different types of women's retreats. And she was living in Costa Rica for a while and really found this just beautiful way of being. And I remember her explaining it to me how she was, and I just haven't been able physically, like health-wise, to make the trip. But she was telling me, she was like, whenever you're able, this is going to be the best place for you to come, because it's a different kind of calm. In America, we have flashing lights and flashing signs and loud sounds and 1,000 things to choose from everywhere we go. Like even in a small town, often you'll have multiple gas stations or at least a general store. Like you have other places. It's not just one place. And so in Costa Rica, it's not like that. Like there's a restaurant or two, there's a grocery store there. You know what I mean? Like it just simplifies life, which is such a thing that we undervalue here, and how much that can benefit our nervous system. It can benefit our way of being. It can benefit that like low grade stress that just buzzes under the surface on us all the time. And really, for us to recognize that if she was saying for me, like if I could go there, the amount of peace that my system would be able to find would be so beautiful. And someday we'll make it happen. But I think it was just this last summer maybe, but she was hosting like a week or two long retreat down there. And what was cool was she had women coming in from all over the place to attend, but she also had women coming in from all over the place to teach. And she had this one woman, and I probably should have reached out to her before I recorded this message and found out the names of this stuff, but just bear with me. She had this woman come who is, I believe, originally from Nigeria, and she practiced the original religion, like whatever the religion is there. So very tribal, very earth-based, very beautiful. And she came to teach, and she took them all to the river. And the name that she had meant the goddess of the river. And so she took them all to the river there and walked them through this beautiful ritual. But the reason that Jessie told me about this is because during the ritual, she said, because when you talk about the elements, right, like if you look at the earth, we have water, we have wind, fire, and earth, right? Like if you look at the elements, that's what we have. And water is so powerful. Think about, I don't know if you've ever done this, but one of the most like human moments I ever had was standing on a bluff or like a little, I don't know what you want to call it, but the edge of the ocean in Hawaii, and watching the ocean bash up against the water over and over, or up against the water bash up against the rocks over and over again. Like if you need something to remind you of how small you are in this beautifully large universe, it's those kind of moments, and just how powerful that is. Because honestly, like if the water would have come up even just a small amount more, it could have taken me out, and no one would have even known, and I would have been gone. Like look at, we see that happen all the time with natural disasters and things like that. And we underestimate the power of nature very often, unfortunately. So she took them to the water, and she was talking about the power of the water and how, giving it can be and how transformative it can be. And the main message that Jessie wanted to share with me was that she said, you can ask the goddess of water for anything that you desire, and she will provide. But the first thing you must ask for is health. The first thing you must always ask for is health. And I sat in my chair and I was like, oh my gosh. And I remember her going, hold on, what's that face for? Because, we Zoom chat. And I said, I realized that I've never done that. Now, guys, backstory of Jamie. I've been in the online world for a long time. I've been in the self-development world, personal development world for a long time. In manifestation and The Secret and all of this world of, words are things and energy attracts, like attracts like. Like I reside in that world. I've done a lot of manifestation. I've done a lot of mood boards. I've done a lot of this type of work, and never once was the first thing I asked for to be healthy. And which is really mind-boggling considering that I was unhealthy. But what that did, let's talk about a sombering moment. What that made me realize was that piece that the doctor had said to me so many years ago about ignoring our simple, basic human needs and acting as though they're not important is just, it's crushing to think about, right? As a person, to think that I would be more concerned about, Jessica's handbook being perfect for her assistant that we haven't even hired yet than my own need to have a certain amount of protein in my diet every day. It's because I know that's what makes me feel better. Now, granted, I have gotten exceptionally better about that. So right now, no, Jessica's handbook is not more important than the protein that I just consumed right before our call, our episode here. But I'm just using examples. But to recognize that is an ugly truth. It's an eye-opening truth. It's like a holy cow. How do we not get taught that we have to take care of ourselves? But as women especially, that's not what we're taught. It's our job to take care of everyone else all the time. That is what we are taught. That is the jobs that we are given as young girls, whether it's an actual job that's paying you money or, think about it. The first job that most young girls have is babysitting. What are you doing when you're babysitting? Taking care of kids, taking care of them, making sure they have everything they need. My other thing was pet and house sitting. So it wasn't about me. Still, it was about them. It was about me taking care of other people. And so when I heard the story about the river and how she said, you will be provided with everything you need as long as the first thing that you always ask for is health. It was very shocking to me to realize, holy crap, how can I even think that any of the other things matter, that are sustainable, or are all of these things that they need to be in order to, make our lives a beautiful place? How could I even think that any of that matters at all if I don't have health? Which is why I think I ignored it for so long, right? The other thing was, I asked myself, I wrote down on the paper, she was talking to me, was it that I didn't think it was possible? Or was it maybe that I didn't think I was worthy of it? Whew, talk about a slap in the nuts, right? That's, sorry, body shop language, you guys. I worked in a body shop for a very long time, and so my mouth, it is what it is. But you catch my drift. So basically, me saying that is along the lines of I do believe that there's pieces of me that didn't believe it was possible. And there are pieces of me that still don't know if it's possible because I'm still not there. I'm still not okay most days. I have a couple good hours, and then sometimes I'll have a whole good day, but most of the time I don't. And things are improving, and they're weird small improvements that you guys would be like, huh? If I listed them out to you, but are we heading in the right direction? Absolutely. But do I feel great? No. And so are there still parts of me that very understandably so don't know if it's possible for me to be well? Yeah. So take that timeline and look at my past, right? All these years of people basically telling me nothing was wrong with me, but yet I felt like crap and no one could figure it out until recently. Why would it not make you ignore your own basic human needs? Why would it not make you believe that you being healthy is not possible? And then if we take it a layer deeper, which no one likes to because it's an ugly truth, why would you not believe that you obviously weren't worthy of being healthy? Because you've never experienced it in 36 years. So why would you think that you were worth that, or that you were, able to have it? So why am I sharing this with you? Not to like sit here and tell you about my, therapy sessions. That's not the point. The point is, these are ugly things that we often ignore for a really long time. Hi, pot kettle black. Totally did that. These are things that I wish people would understand more about, the fact that it's more common than you think it is. You are not weird. You are not troubled. You are not broken for thinking or having some of this stuff lying underneath of parts of you. Because at the same time, you can look back 3, 4, 5 years ago at my content and see me thriving. Was I thriving in a lot of ways? Yeah. But what the hell does any of that mean if at the end of the day I can barely speak because I feel so shitty physically? It doesn't mean anything. I did what I knew. Let's put it that way. So anyway, but to bring it back, we kind of just, especially before we learned that we can have these conversations like I'm having with you now, or we can say this stuff out loud and it's okay. It's not dramatic. It's not unheard of. You're not crazy. You're not wrong. People aren't going to shun away. I mean, maybe some of them will. That's the truth. I'm sure there are plenty of people who are like, who is this chick whining on this podcast? And this isn't for them. It is what it is. There are plenty of people who will always have something negative to say about no matter what it is that you're doing. But the fact of the matter is, if you're experiencing it and that's your reality, then who is anyone to tell you that that's not real? My job, or my hope, is to make you realize that it doesn't have to stay that way. You are not wrong. You are not alone. You are not an island for feeling the feelings that you're feeling. You're not hopeless. You're not. It's funny I say that as I'm holding this crystal heart. Isn't this beautiful? I'm obsessed. Anyway, it's a amethyst. So it's not hopeless. I know it feels that way sometimes because I have my moments of that as well. And again, you're allowed to have moments of feeling hopeless. You're allowed to have moments of feeling frustrated and alone, and your priorities don't, your needs are not a priority. That is okay. What I want to say that I would hope to change from this conversation, or from anyone listening to this, is that you realize that it is also very okay and very necessary, if you want things to be better for yourself, that shifts. That you start making small moves towards making your basic human needs more important than anyone else's. More important than anything else. So we talk about the face mask thing, right? To put the oxygen mask on. Okay. So say you're a parent, a mother, a father, and you have children who depend only on you, and they're young enough that they aren't feeding themselves, can't brush their teeth, that kind of deal. What use are you, or what good are you to them if you're broken and falling apart? Because guess what happens? It makes it really difficult for you to do anything to where you feel good about it, right? So there are those places where taking care of our own needs is caring for the other people that count on us. Taking care of ourselves allows us to be what other people actually really need from us. They don't need us to just go through the motions. They need us to be present and to be vibrant and to be everything that we want to be. They need us to want to be in the room, not just be oh God, I'm here because I have no other choice, but I can barely keep my eyes open, or I feel like I'm going to fall over, whatever the case may be. Imagine if everyone else knew that that's how you felt. Imagine if instead you got to feel the way you wish you did in those spaces. So do you see what I mean when I say put your oxygen mask on first? That's what I'm talking about. Because nobody If you're not taking care of your basic human needs, you're not giving those people, like everybody tells me that, right? Well, my kids need this and my this, you know, you're not giving them the thing you think you're giving them if you're a freaking shell of yourself. And then that adds to the problem. That adds to the not worthiness and I'm not good enough and I have all this doubt and all that I'm a terrible mom and I'm a terrible friend and blah, blah, blah. All that gets added. See, this is what you see. You have to break things back down to the beginning. And the beginning is, what if my basic human needs were a priority? Then maybe all those things I feel guilty about or I label myself because I can't do and I wish I could and da 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 da. What if those things weren't reality? Because my basic human needs were met, so I was capable of providing what I really truly wish I could and want to everyone else instead of just phoning it in, instead of pretending. What if that was the reality for you? Wouldn't that be beautiful? Now, let me tell you, is that my day every day? No, it's not. Am I getting there? Yes. So in the meantime, what have I done? I just don't pretend anymore. I just don't pretend anymore. If I can't be the person that I want to be in a situation, I don't go. Because it feels better to not attend than to fake it. Example, my dog just had to go to the emergency vet a couple days ago. Long story, she ate something she wasn't supposed to. Freaked me out. I have doggy drama from Bonnie dying in my car on the way to the vet. So, like, it was a big deal. Everybody was stressed. Tony was having a panic attack. I actually kept my shit together because in that moment, and that's why, my basic human need would have been for Tony to calm me, for me to sit down in the grass and breathe, for me to go get whatever XYZ thing is, for me to take care of me. That would have been all the things that I just listed would have been what I needed. But in that moment, I couldn't do that. My dog needed me to do what I needed to do for her. And that's okay. Now later, after we were home and I knew what was going on and I had assessed the situation, I felt all the feelings. And I sat there in silence for like 15 minutes and just like stood at the wall. And I let the feelings exist. And even like yesterday, I told Tony, hey, I'm probably going to need to like cry or something maybe over the next, like tomorrow. We need to like make that happen because otherwise it's going to pent up and turn into something not pretty. And I don't want to deal with that. And he was like, got it. I hear you. Because he and I have a relationship now where when I say I need to probably cry, which is not always easy for me, he knows how to hold space for that. Because it's important that I move that energy so that I can continue to make sure that my basic human needs are met in the other situations. So will there be exceptions to the rule? Yeah. Your kid's sick and you're running her to the vet, your kid, you know what I mean, to the ER. Like, yeah, you may have on one sock. Like, you may not have taken your medication because you ran out of the house. You may not, you know what I mean? Like, you didn't eat dinner. Like, those situations happen. But if that is what's happening every single day, what I know to be true, friends, from my own experience and from people that I work with and my family members and people I'm around every day is, if that continues to be the truth, that every single day your basic human needs are never, ever met, eventually your body's going to do to you what mine did to me. And it's going to force you to sit down and deal with it. And that's really, really hard, especially when you have families and things like that. It's been hard for me. It's been very difficult. I've been able to manage, but it's been extreme. And what I know to be true is if we don't listen to our body, eventually it forces us to. So this is my message to you. If you're the person who maybe you don't have chronic illness, maybe you're just overly exhausted all the time, or you feel like you're running ragged constantly, my plea to you is to please stop. Please find a way to make sure that your basic human needs are being met. And what does that mean? It's different for everyone, but that's human connection, that's sleep, that's quality food, that's enough hydration and water, that's showering, washing our face, brushing our teeth. Those are our basic human needs to keep us operating in a certain kind of way. Now, the showering and the brushing the teeth could be second tier, and so could potentially the human interaction, but it shouldn't be. But the food, the water, the sleep, it's necessary. If you could add in a little moment of quiet for even 5 minutes, that's a game changer too. That's my message to you guys today. I hope that it was helpful. And if you have any feedback, as always, feel free, or you have questions, feel free to let me know. And I hope you enjoyed the show. And if you could give us a review wherever you listen, we would appreciate it. And share this episode with someone that you think would benefit from it. Thank you so much, and we'll talk soon. Bye. Thank you for listening to Operation B, the podcast. To support this message and to support the show, please make sure that you like, follow, and share the podcast wherever you enjoy listening. And be sure to leave us a review on iTunes. Thank you for being here, and see you next time.